pollinator populations are in decline. Habitat loss, monocultural farming, and untargeted application of pesticides have all contributed to a downward trend that could have major implications for global crop production. There are several large-scale efforts underway to reverse this decline, but recent research from the University of Arkansas suggests that a grassroots approach could go a long way towards improving the outlook for pollinators. Researchers with the University of Arkansas Horticulture Department evaluated 2 systems that could turn lawns into pollinator-friendly habitats. Incorporating early spring bulbs that flower and senesce before the mowing season begins, and adding flowering perennials like white clover. When combined, these systems can supply nutrition to pollinating insects throughout the season. The first study in this investigation sought to find which species of bulbs can persist from year to year in a warm season turfgrass environment.
The thought is that they come up early in the season, flower, the foliage senesces, and then they are, completely underground for the rest of the season, so they don't interfere with the growth period of the warm season turfgrasses.
Working at the U of A System Division of Agriculture's Research and Extension Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas, researchers tested 30 bulb species in 3 planting sites: Bermuda grass and buffalo grass, representing typical warm season lawns, and a raised bed, which helped researchers determine bulb viability in non-competitive growing conditions. The 30 bulb species were selected for having a mature plant height of less than 6 inches and a typical life cycle that ended before mowing season began, around April or May. At each of the 3 planting sites, 3 replications of each bulb species were tested, with 25 bulbs planted per species per replicate, for a grand total of 6,750 bulbs. Throughout the 2016 and 2017 seasons, researchers gathered data weekly, recording the dates of plant and flower emergence and observing pollinator activity when pollinators were present. After 2 years, researchers identified several successful species that persisted from year to year and provided forage for pollinators. Crocus flavus golden yellow, Crocus vernus remembrance, and Muscari arminiacum succeeded in both Bermuda grass and buffalo grass. Other species that struggled in Bermuda grass but succeeded in the less competitive buffalo grass included Crocus chrysanthus, blue pearl, and cream beauty, Crocus esovicus, spring beauty, Crocus seaberry tricolor, Crocus thomasinianus ruby giant, and one variety of Muscari, Muscari alcari, Mount Hood. Researchers also found that Leucojum aestivum summer snowflake and several varieties of narcissus flourished in both Bermuda grass and buffalo grass from year to year, but ultimately failed to attract any pollinator activity. Researchers also evaluated different methods for planting bulbs in a turfgrass environment. 1. Traditional planting, digging a hole through existing sod, placing the bulb inside and covering with loose soil. 2. Sod removal, removing existing sod, placing bulbs directly on the bare soil, and covering again with the removed sod. 3. New sod installation, removing existing sod, tilling the ground beneath, placing bulbs on the tilled soil, and covering again with the removed sod, thus simulating a new site to be sodded. The traditional method resulted in the greatest success during the first year, but the second year of data indicated no significant difference in flowering success between the 3 methods.
It didn't matter after year 2. You could use any of the methods that we tried.
Although flowering bulbs can provide pollinators with a food source during the late winter and early spring months, most pollinators need access to floral resources all season long. The final study of this investigation tested the persistence of flowering perennial plants incorporated into a competitive growing environment, in this case a Bermuda grass lawn, and their ability to attract pollinating insects. Over the course of 2 growing seasons, from 2016 through 2017, researchers evaluated 8 species of flowering perennials. Seeds from each entry were started in a greenhouse before being incorporated into 3-foot by 3-foot turfgrass study plots. Each entry was replicated 4 times for a total of 32 study plots. Researchers observed vegetative percent coverage and number of flowers twice per month, while pollinator visits were recorded 4 times per week in 1-minute increments per plot, as long as pollinating insects were observed to be actively foraging at the study site. Of the 8 entries considered, the 2 cultivars of white clover, Durana and Resolute, persisted for 2 years and achieved the best balance with the surrounding Bermuda grass, approaching 50% vegetative coverage by the end of the 2017 growing season. Spring Beauty persisted and flowered through both seasons, as did Self-Heal. However, Self-Heal displayed invasive tendencies, which makes it a less ideal option for lawns in the study region. Strawberry clover and bird's foot trefoil displayed varying levels of vegetative coverage and flower counts, but generally struggled to achieve a balance with the surrounding turfgrass or attract pollinators. The remaining entries, English daisy and subterranean clover, completely failed to survive from year to year. The most significant pollinator activity during the study was observed on both cultivars of white clover, Durana and Resolute, and Self-Heal, and varied with the number of flowers in bloom. In addition to providing forage for pollinating insects, incorporating legumes like white clover has the added benefit of nitrogen fixation, which provides nitrogen to surrounding turfgrass and minimizes the need for fertilizer inputs.
The Bermuda grass with the white clovers also looks very good. It's very healthy. We can tell that the clover is adding the nitrogen to this Bermuda grass, and it's very healthy.
Pollinators play a crucial role in our day-to-day lives, providing services that make it possible to feed a growing human population. All efforts, large and small, to improve the outlook for pollinators are critical for pollinator survival.
You can have a beautiful lawn, and you can also be pollinator friendly, and this is the message I want to share with others.
For more information about the University of Arkansas Horticulture Department and their research program and projects, please contact Dr. Wayne McKay. This production was supported by a gift from the Arkansas Turfgrass Association and from the Arkansas Golf Course Superintendents Association.